I replaced the master cylinder brake line as you saw. Now the car don't start. What's up, everybody? We're back in the shop tonight. The 76 Camaro is just giving me all kinds of fits. I'm going to show you why we're doing this head swap here. That exact reason. And also, now it's leaking trans fluid. I just can't catch a break with this thing. I actually did put a new pan gasket on the trans, so I don't know why it's leaked. Maybe I forgot to tighten the bolts, but so we're gonna check that out too. We got all kinds of goodies sitting here for the Camaro. We got a fresh set of 243s from the machine shop. Midwest cylinder head went ahead and decked those for us, so we make sure we got a good, clean, flat surface. We gotta get these old valves cleaned up. They got carbon like crazy. We're gonna go ahead and lap the valves. That way we make sure we got a good seat. Typically, I would say it's just a suggestion, but I'm getting tired of tearing this thing down, so we're gonna do it right from the get-go. So before we get to this disaster, I totally didn't even give you guys an overview of the car and let you check it all out. So let's check out the interior and the exterior. Let's see how bad the rust is. This is Iowa, so you probably already know the answer to that one. So the front end, not bad, not bad. It's been replaced. I really need to find a new fender for the driver's side because somebody threw a bunch of Bondo in that. I did get a patch panel for the lower section because we obviously have some rust going on here. I mean, she needs some work, to say the least. I do have new rockers. The quarter, I did not buy replacements on it. It's not terrible. We got some rust bubbling up, but it's solid for the most part. I do have a replacement panel for right there. The back, we just got some surface rust I believe we can clean up. I may hit with a high build primer. Something, whenever we get to that point. Oofta. We got some paint peelage up here. I don't know. I think somebody repainted this car at some point. The windows don't leak or nothing like that, so that's good. She's solid up top. This side looks good, but there's a ton of it's really difficult to see as dirty as the car is, but there's hail damage only on this quarter of the car. I might try and see if a PDR guy can pop those out, or likely we're gonna have to replace this panel because it's so bad. Doors, good to go. The rocker on this side is good, and the fender is good on this side. Passenger side would be perfect if it wasn't for that hail damage, so that kind of sucks, but is what it is for an Iowa car. A little squeaky, and for some reason when you shut the door, it does not like to open from the inside, but it opens from the outside just fine. I believe we probably just need some new bushings, but we'll figure that out later. Interior is not bad at all. Looks like seats were redone. Back seat, nope, can't see nothing back there. Yeah, I attempted to have the windows tinted on this car. I don't know, just personal preference, I suppose. She's got 90,000 on the dash. We got no cracks in the dash, which is super nice. I did swap out the stock shifter. One was broke, handles falling off. It was difficult. So I had this one laying on the shelf, threw it in. You know, gotta have the aftermarket RPM gauge. The old classic Sun Super Tech. Headliner's good in it. Let's check the trunk. I actually have not looked in here since I got the car, so who knows? Maybe there's an animal in there. My handy dandy key out here. Okay, not bad. And nothing back here. Got some little speaker wires. Let's see how bad that floor is in this thing. Who put this in here? Alright, we got a heavy duty rubber liner, and we got some sound deadener mat back here. Okay, well, got a little bit of patchwork right there, but I mean, kind of soft, but good enough for who it's for. So that's not too bad. The floors are all right shape. I've seen much worse, like my Monty, unfortunately. Just put that back there. So yeah, take my keys back. Oh, come on now. Oh, I guess you just gotta be gentle with the old girl. All right. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and clean these up. This is it. This is all it takes to clean these up. A simple wire brush on a bench grinder. Make sure it's bolted down really well. We don't want it sliding around while we go ahead and clean these up. Definitely gonna want to wear a set of safety glasses, safety shield, fire suit. You never know. Because I'm gonna tell you, it's not very fun when you take some of these to the face, the hands, chest. Your sweatshirt's gonna be full of them by the time you're done with this job. So a general rule of thumb with taking anything apart on a motor, keep track of the order that you pull parts up. If you have started from the front driver's side, mark the valves. Did I do that? No. Did not do that. I'm just gonna clean them up, pretend that I did, and hope the car runs fine. Well, that took way longer than it should have. It took me about 5 minutes to clean this one up. These are a little difficult because they're dished so bad, so you really got to force it onto the grinder. It was a 2-amp motor, so get a bigger one if you can. Bigger's better, right? For that amount of miles, they cleaned up pretty decent. This is literally costs you nothing to just go ahead and clean these up, throw them back in. This one took me about 5 minutes or so. Got to do that 15 more times. We'll get these cleaned up and move on to valve lapping. Lap the valves, you really only need like one tool here, plus the compound that you're going to use. Super cheap, 12 bucks, and you can use these for cars, ATVs, dirt bikes, CBR swap golf carts maybe. I don't know, whatever you want to do. Get your valve grinding compound. They do make like a fine and a coarse. Looks like I got this will just work for whatever kind. It doesn't specify. I spent like 10 minutes on, heck, actually the first one I spent 15 minutes on the one exhaust valve trying to get this carbon. I completely gave up. It was not coming off at all. I'm just gonna go ahead and set these in here. So that way when I lap these, it's gonna lap the valve to that seat, and then you really don't wanna get them mixed up at that point. Get your little plunger here, suction cup it to the valve, like so. So that way you can move it in and out. You're gonna spin it like this to lap the valve. So we'll start at this end. Alright, we got our lapping compound. Oh, why is it coming out everywhere? It doesn't take a crazy amount of this compound to lap the valves. All you want to do is pull your valve out, put just a little bit around the edge. Like so. Stick the So you just want to stick the compound around the back side of the valve. Doesn't take much, just enough to kind of cover it up. Put that valve back in there, push it down, figure out which suction cup works the best. And then you don't have to get too crazy with the pressure. Just start doing that. The valve's going to start getting quiet once that compound works its way out of there. There, you're starting to get a really smooth sound. Super quiet now. And what you want to do is pull the valve back just a little bit. It's going to allow the compound to go back in. Push it tight. And do it again. There, it's getting quiet again. So now what you want to do is you can take the valve out. Take a look at it. And right here on the seat, you're going to see it start to shine up. I'll try and show it the best I can, but... So actually the seat is on the very edge of the valve. The seat is on the very edge of the valve right here. And you're going to see it start to get really shiny. And you're going to see all the corrosion start disappearing. Which, that means... So you're going to start to see all the corrosion start disappearing on the very edge of the valve here. You may not get it all, but you want it to be 95% gone. So this one actually looks really good here. So this one looks pretty good. I like it. I'll go ahead and give you guys a close-up view of this. There's your exhaust valve seat. And it looks pretty good. It's smoothed out nice. Obviously not as nice as the intake one. You guys can actually hear the crazy difference in it. I'll let the compound wrap around the valve. It is so important that you get all this compound out of here and make sure this head is extremely clean from it. Because as gritty as this stuff is, the last thing you want to do is send this through your motor. Otherwise you're going to have a couple bearings that say bye-bye. I go ahead and spray it down with something at the very end. Wipe it down with microfiber, make sure we got everything out of there. We just got the heads all cleaned up, got the valves put back in. I need to wait till I get the old heads off the motor before I can put the springs on. So let's go ahead and go get that tore down. So we already have a head off on the car. It only took about 45 minutes to an hour to pull that passenger side off. And this is the trouble side, so I'll go ahead and show you here the issue I was having. Clearly leaking a lot of exhaust. I tried plugging it with a gasket maker, putting a bolt in with some sealant. Nothing was sealing up. I finally tried to weld it, which worked the best. Unfortunately, it still kind of had a hairline crack and it was leaking coolant down. That is why we're doing the upgrade to a set of 243 aluminum heads. Alright, we got the heads all cleaned up. Got the new LS 6 lifters put in. Went ahead and wiped everything down. Everything's looking real clean. We're going to go ahead and throw these LS 9 gaskets on. They're like we gotta wire up the 3-wire temp sensor real quick, which is right here on the side of the block. Yellow wire, gonna go to your PCM. Brown wire, PCM. Green wire, goes to your gauge cluster. Super easy. Right now I don't have an electronic temp gauge or an oil pressure gauge, which yeah, is not very good for just an old car like this. Two of the most important things you want to watch is making sure it's not overheating and making sure you get oil pressure. Got the most important thing. See if she fires up. Any fuel leaks or anything. No leaks. Rowdy. Woo! Yeah! Alright, it's been a couple days since we've been here with the Camaro. We definitely had a couple problems. I definitely didn't run out of gas or anything like that. It was definitely the brakes. So we have a line right there that immediately burst after I pulled the car out of the garage. So we gotta replace the entire line from that wheel to our proportioning valve here. And actually I picked up a new master cylinder as well. But it's been actually leaking on the booster itself. Not crazy, but it's enough that it leaks down over time. So we're gonna replace that, replace the line, and 3 more goodies. We finally got an intake. We're gonna TIG weld that together to make it fit the car the best. We got the AFR gauge ready to be hooked up. And then a new mass airflow sensor that I actually have to TIG weld to the intake. We gotta get it replaced. I've had nothing but problems with that thing not registering the temperature. So yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and get this brake line fixed first and swap out that master cylinder. Well, this is new. We got the car up in the air, and there you can kind of see the master cylinder leak in there. But what's even weirder, and it started pouring fuel right out of the end of the header, only on the driver's side, which is weird. So I'm like, okay. Immediately pulled the spark plugs. Extremely wet. Every cylinder. Went ahead, pulled the plugs on the passenger side, And it's definitely running rich on that side, but they're not wet at all. So we got two problems. Either A, since this motor sat long, these injectors could possibly be stuck open, and might need to take that rail off and kind of check that out. If that's not the case, I've heard this vacuum line right here on this regulator could possibly be an issue. I pulled it off. Some people say sometimes fuel can come out of it. I turned the key on, cycled it a couple times. No fuel coming out of the vacuum line, which I'm not sure how it would get there. But anyways, possibly bad regulator, I guess. So yeah, let's address that problem and see why this thing is running just so rich. But that's also why we need that AFR gauge to figure it out. I've been doing my own tune on it just to learn how to run HP tuners, and I found out it was running way more timing than it should have. I backed the timing off to 28 degrees total timing. I'm running around 20 degrees right now initial timing. I might need to bump that back up a touch. I think I was at 22 and it was idling pretty good at 22. But it's running a lot better. Before, with all that timing, it obviously wasn't revving up right. Kind of sounded like it had a slight pop out of the exhaust, running too much timing again. I got all that fixed with an updated tune. Alright, so we just went to O'Reilly's, did the old rent-a-tool, picked up a fuel tester kit. What that's going to tell us is either A, if we have an open injector, if the regulator's not controlling the amount of pressure. I believe they should have somewhere around 40 to 50 psi, and it should hold that. If it reduces significantly at first, then clearly we got an injector that's sticking open, and it would likely be on that side, since those plugs are the only ones that are getting wet on the driver's side. So what we're going to do is, I got this hooked up here. We got our gauge here hooked up to the Schrader valve right on the fuel rail, and they got a little port for when you need to release the pressure. We got to put that back in the can because we all know how gas prices are right now. I'm going to cycle the key 2 times just to make sure. Man, really got to oil that door, and hopefully it doesn't leak on that Schrader valve. Whoa, that gauge is reading, I can tell it's way too high. Holy smokes. We're reading 75 psi on our fuel pressure. That seems extremely high compared to what I've read. I'm just going to assume that for whatever reason it chose this side to kind of bleed off some of that pressure. Maybe it doesn't do it when it's running yet, but I gotta get the plugs back in, put the plug wires back on. And then also now I'm in the middle of fabbing up this intake here. Well, you may have noticed we're not welding on the tire machine today. We have the intake sitting here on the bench. I went ahead and saved you the time of hearing a grinder and cut off wheels and all that annoying stuff, and just go right to the fun part of TIG welding this. I got a Lincoln TIG 200 here. I did a little bit of welding with it, not bad. Good enough for a garage redneck, I suppose. But I went ahead and marked it all up. We also got to weld in our little mass airflow sensor piece here. Make sure we weld that in the right way too. I don't know if it makes a difference, but if they put arrows on it, you make sure it's going the right direction. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this welded up. Alright, so I weld like twice a year, so you can just about imagine how, definitely don't look at those welds there. Does it matter what I'm using? No, not really, because it's probably wrong, but I'm using a number 5 cup, purple point, tungsten electrode, and like a, I can't remember what diameter this is, 3/16 aluminum filler rod. I don't know. Works good enough for me. That's about all that matters. And it holds. Alright, yeah, that's looking a lot better. And we're calling that good. That's a definite win if I can try to make it look like that. Alright guys, unfortunately we're finishing up the video. We had some issues with the intake. I cannot get these like 1/4 inch thick mass airflow bungs to weld to this like 16 gauge aluminum. It's just blowing through, not leaving good dimes. Well, dimes really at all. But so I'm having issues with that. I replaced the master cylinder brake line as you saw. Now the car don't start. I put gas in it. I'm getting power everywhere. Fuel pump's kicking on. It tries to start, it just won't kick off now. I can go ahead and show you that because it's just, I'm not sure what's going on. I've tried to start it so much that the battery is just completely dead. Oh, maybe it'll start now. Nope. But I know with these newer motors, if they don't have full power to them, they can have a tendency to do weird stuff. So with that being said, I know you can buy those mass airflow sensor already welded on like a short piece of pipe. I'm gonna go ahead and order that. We'll get that in hopefully by the weekend. I've been revisiting the tune. The only thing I touched is I wired in the fans, so maybe something came unplugged in the fuse block, I don't know. But we're gonna have to go ahead, tear that all back down. I just want to say thank you guys so much for showing up to the channel, subscribing, leaving all the feedback and everything. The 2 short videos I kind of had on the page. I had to get that video posted before Kevin's event this past weekend, which was an absolute blast. I cannot wait for that video to come out. It was a lot of fun. So look for that on his channel here in the next few weeks. There is a lot of footage to go through. We had like probably 15 cameras and GoPros just at every corner of the track, and it was just an absolute blast. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for subscribing, commenting, liking the video, and all that. We're gonna be back. We're posting every Wednesday. That's my goal. We'll be back next week, and if this car doesn't do a burnout, I'm gonna light tires on fire and it'll be like a burnout, but stationary, non-running. So we'll see you guys next week.